Most of what you think you know about the Mojave Rattlesnake's venom, it's dead wrong. This is the venom myth that refuses to die, and today we're gonna bust it wide open. We are way out here in the California desert at sunrise to talk about the Mojave Rattlesnake. I don't want to spoil the ending right away, but I think that most of you are going to be surprised by how mild the reality is compared to the mythology that surrounds this creature. As one of two subspecies of the Mojave green, the Mojave rattlesnake, or Crotalus scutellatus is arguably the most feared rattler in the American Southwest. But how much of this fear is backed by science and how much is just plain wrong? We'll explore both aspects, but let's start with the latter. See, Scutatus is known for producing two distinct venom types, A and B, which have vastly different effects. Type A is neurotoxic, containing the infamous Mojave toxin, while Type B is hemotoxic or tissue-destroying, but lacks the neurotoxin. Now, anecdotal reports claim that bites from snakes with venom Type A were invariably fatal, while those with Type B were not. However, a study conducted in Arizona, where C. scutellatus is abundant and where one would have the highest chance of encountering it, found that even in areas where over 100 bites were reported, there was not a single case of neurotoxic respiratory failure. In fact, of the 583 bites they recorded in their study, none were fatal. So, this brings us to our first Mythbusters, deadliest of rattlesnakes. The notion that Mojave rattlesnake bites are always fatal, or that it has the most lethal venom in North America, is simply untrue. In the United States, only about 2 to 6 people die from venomous snake bites each year, a number that tragically includes people who refuse antivenom for religious reasons. And while the Mojave does have a reputation for being especially dangerous, the reality is that it hasn't caused any fatalities since 1996. So again, despite having some of the most toxic venom in the world, it's rarely fatal because it doesn't inject a lot of it. The mouse mortality figures you see here come from lab tests where a lethal dose is injected directly into the bloodstream. Real-life bites, on the other hand, they don't come close to delivering that amount. And speaking of antivenom, that brings us to our next Mythbuster. There's no antivenom that works against the Mojave. This is a total lie. The antivenom used to treat venomous snake bites works just fine against the Mojave rattlesnake. And in the extremely rare case that someone is bitten by a snake with Type A venom and experiences symptoms, the antidote will be effective when administered promptly. Now, while these myths may not have deadly consequences, the next one certainly could be. The Mojave rattlesnake is so aggressive that it will attack humans on sight. Or perhaps it's been secretly breeding new strains of super venomous snakes in a lab, and now it's loose. These beliefs are just as untrue as they are paranoid. The truth is that the Mojave rattlesnake is typically quite shy and evasive, resorting to biting only when threatened or surprised. This is clearly demonstrated in this footage where an observer approaches the snake, at which point it makes every attempt to get away. Even when giving a tour in the exact same area where a man was bitten, the guide did not see a single snake. This brings us to a broader point. Why do these myths persist despite solid scientific evidence to the contrary? For this, we can look back to the early days of animal testing, when the LD50 test, which calculates the toxicity of a substance, was performed on mice. The results were so sensational that newspapers ran headlines such as "Venom of Desert Snake is Deadliest in World." This was further compounded when in the 1990s radio DJs began spinning wild yarns of terror across the Southwest, perpetuating the image of the hyper-aggressive killing machine. But then maybe we should all just respect the mighty Mojave a little more. Even though the myths are greatly exaggerated and the reality is far less perilous than the folklore, encounters can still be dangerous. So please remember to watch your step when hiking in desert terrain. Give snakes plenty of space and never provoke or handle them. And seek medical attention right away if you're bitten. Snakes like the Mojave rattlesnake play an important role in their ecosystem as predators and prey. And by understanding them better, we can learn to coexist with these misunderstood creatures. So hopefully after watching this video, you'll be able to spread awareness and help dispel some of the myths surrounding this fascinating serpent. If you enjoyed learning about one of the most misunderstood creatures in the desert, then be sure to give this video a like If myths amaze you, subscribe for more myth-busting wildlife deep dives. And in the comments, tell us what's the craziest wildlife myth you've ever heard. Thanks for watching. See ya!